This is your super mayor, Tiffany Henyard, the people's mayor. We out here taking care of the business of the people.
Stories new at 6. In battle, Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard is mounting a re-election bid. Henyard made the announcement in a post on her Facebook.
Tiffany Henyard, who bills herself as the super mayor of Dothan, Illinois, has garnered attention for all the wrong reasons. Instead of being celebrated for effective leadership, her tenure has become a spectacle marked by political instability and reality TV-style drama. A young child with a cancer and digestive system and questionable leadership choices have left the community perplexed, critics furious, and the town's fine. In her most recent attention-grabbing stunt, Henyard was photographed on a snowy day in Dothan, dressed in an attention-seeking winter outfit, shoveling snow with her crew. But this wasn't just a routine community cleanup. It was a full-blown performance, complete with a Facebook Live broadcast where Henyard, the self-proclaimed mayor of the people, made sure everyone knew she was there. She dramatically declared, "Never, ever, ever find another person like me," as if clearing a driveway were on par with solving world hunger. While some may appreciate her effort, many others rolled their eyes at what they saw as another attempt to turn everything into a spectacle about Tiffany Henyard.
So yes, keep telling y'all never, ever, ever find another person like.
In Dalton, Illinois, it's becoming increasingly apparent that residents are losing patience with Mayor Tiffany Henyard and her attempts to salvage her reputation. Despite her efforts to paint a picture of progress and effective leadership, many locals see her actions as nothing more than a series of publicity stunts aimed at boosting her re-election prospects. Recent events have only solidified the belief among many that Henyard's actions are more about self-promotion than genuine service to the community. One particularly blunt resident didn't hesitate to call Henyard's latest move pathetic, questioning why a sitting mayor was behaving as if she were still in high school. This resident dismissed the act as an immature attempt to distract from the real issues plaguing the town. Another local was even more critical, remarking that Henyard always believes she's the smartest person in the room. The reality, however, is that everyone else has already pegged her as a clown. These sentiments reflect a growing frustration within the community, as Dalton faces a multitude of unresolved issues, while Henyard seems more focused on optics than finding real solutions. The most pressing concern for Dalton is its staggering financial deficit, which has ballooned to nearly $3 million. This deficit, residents and trustees alike argue, is a result of mismanagement under Henyard's leadership. While Henyard often touts her supposed achievements during public meetings and on social media, critics contend that these claims are nothing more than smoke and mirrors. Despite her repeated promises of fiscal responsibility and turning the village around, little progress has been made. The town still grapples with crumbling infrastructure, underfunded public services, and a lack of transparency about how taxpayer money is being spent. The financial crisis has only fueled distrust among residents, who point to Henyard's failure to address the town's most urgent needs. Despite her frequent declarations of progress, many see her initiatives as either non-existent or poorly executed. For instance, while Henyard speaks about new projects and reforms, little has been done to address the town's infrastructure, which remains dilapidated, or to improve essential services that have been underfunded for years. This lack of action has led to growing accusations of financial mismanagement, with some residents suggesting that funds earmarked for community development have been misappropriated, diverted to personal projects, or worse, spent on lavish personal expenses. As the scrutiny surrounding her leadership continues to mount, Henyard's combative approach to governance has not helped her case. Rather than address the concerns raised by trustees and community members, she has often resorted to dismissive and, at times, antagonistic rhetoric. Public meetings, which should serve as a space for constructive dialogue, have devolved into heated spectacles of finger-pointing and deflection. Henyard's tone, especially in recent board meetings, has only further fueled the perception that she is out of touch with the frustrations and needs of her constituents. The situation worsened when the Illinois Attorney General ruled that Dalton had violated the Open Meetings Act. The ruling found that the town had been holding board meetings in spaces too small to accommodate the growing number of attendees, effectively limiting public participation. This decision was seen as a victory for transparency advocates, who argued that Henyard's administration had deliberately stifled dissent by restricting access to meetings. As a result of the ruling, future board meetings will be held in larger venues, allowing more residents to attend, voice their concerns, and hold elected officials accountable. However, Henyard's refusal to change course, even in the face of mounting public scrutiny, shows little indication that she is willing to listen to her community. Despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary, Henyard continues to double down on her narrative of progress and success. She remains steadfast in her refusal to acknowledge the town's financial crisis, which has only further alienated many residents. Her perceived indifference to the concerns of the community, combined with her dismissive attitude toward constructive feedback, has left many questioning whether she is fit to lead. The tension between Henyard and the residents has now reached a boiling point. Calls for her resignation are growing louder by the day, with many expressing a desire for new leadership, someone who will prioritize the needs of Dalton over personal ambition. Trustees, community leaders, and everyday residents alike are calling for a change in leadership that focuses on collaboration, fiscal responsibility, and the town's well-being. One of Henyard's most vocal critics, trustee Jason House, has been outspoken about the need for a change in leadership. House, who is also running against Henyard in the upcoming election, has framed his campaign around the promise of transparency, fiscal responsibility, and a commitment to addressing the town's real challenges. He has argued that Dalton deserves a mayor who's willing to listen to the concerns of its residents, work collaboratively with trustees, and take decisive action to address the town's deepening issues. For many in Dalton, Henyard's tenure as mayor has been marked by missed opportunities and growing frustration. With a financial crisis looming and unresolved issues continuing to plague the town, it seems clear that the community is looking for a new direction, one that prioritizes real leadership over political theater.
Make sure you had a way to get out of your driveway, get to the grocery store, whatever you got to do today.
Financial mismanagement has become a defining controversy in Mayor Tiffany Henyard's administration, sparking outrage and concern among residents, trustees, and external auditors alike. At the center of this issue is the dramatic decline in Dalton's financial health. Once boasting a healthy general fund balance exceeding $5 million, the town now finds itself facing a staggering deficit of more than $3 million under Henyard's leadership in just a few short years. This troubling trend was uncovered by former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who was hired to conduct a thorough review of Dalton's finances. Lightfoot's investigation raised the crucial question, where did all the money go? The audit findings suggest a pattern of spending ranging from questionable to downright extravagant, fueling speculation that Henyard may be using public funds to finance a lifestyle far removed from the fiscal responsibility expected of a public servant. One of the most eye-opening revelations from the audit was a single-day expenditure of over $40,000 on Amazon. The sheer scale of this purchase left many residents and officials baffled, prompting questions about what could justify such a massive outlay. Was it office supplies, community resources, or something else entirely? The lack of transparency surrounding this expenditure has deepened suspicions that Henyard is treating the village's coffers as her personal piggy bank, rather than as a resource for the town's well-being. This particular instance, however, appears to be just the tip of the iceberg. Additional records reveal a troubling pattern of frequent, high-value charges made on the village's credit card under Henyard's authorization. While some of these expenses were vaguely justified as administrative costs or community outreach, others lacked any clear explanation. Residents and trustees have demanded answers, with critics arguing that these expenditures reflect a cavalier attitude toward public funds and a failure to prioritize Dalton's pressing financial needs. Instead of investing in necessary infrastructure improvements, educational programs, or essential public services, it seems that a significant portion of the town's budget is being funneled into discretionary spending with little to no oversight. The backlash from the community has been swift and unforgiving. Residents, already frustrated by deteriorating public services and the lack of visible progress in Dalton, have taken to public forums, town hall meetings, and social media to voice their outrage. Many accuse Henyard of acting irresponsibly and prioritizing her own comfort and convenience over the welfare of the town. It's like she thinks she's running a private business rather than a public office. One resident remarked during a heated board meeting, "We're seeing our tax dollars disappear and we're getting nothing in return." Trustees have echoed these sentiments, with some even calling for a full audit of all financial transactions during Henyard's tenure. Trustee Jason House, one of Henyard's most vocal critics, has gone so far as to suggest that her spending habits may constitute a breach of public trust, if not outright corruption. This isn't just about bad management, House stated in a recent interview. This is about accountability. The people of Dolton deserve to know where their money is going, and right now we have more questions than answers. House's criticisms reflect growing concerns that Henyard's spending is not just reckless, but possibly criminal in nature, and calls for greater scrutiny of her financial practices are intensifying. Lightfoot's investigation also raised serious concerns about the lack of checks and balances in Dolton's financial management system. The audit revealed that many of the village's financial transactions were conducted without proper documentation or approval from the board, a clear violation of standard municipal governance practices. This absence of oversight has prompted calls for tighter controls and greater transparency in how public funds are allocated and spent. With no clear accounting for much of the town's spending, the community is left in the dark about how taxpayer dollars are being used, or misused. Despite the mounting criticism, Henyard has remained defiant, dismissing concerns about her spending habits as politically motivated attacks aimed at undermining her leadership. In a recent statement during a Facebook Live session, she insisted that all expenditures were made in the best interests of the community and that her administration has nothing to hide. "I've always worked for the betterment of Dolton," Henyard declared. "Every dollar spent has been for the people, and I stand by that." However, these reassurances have done little to quell the growing discontent. For many residents, the situation is emblematic of a broader issue, a leadership that seems increasingly disconnected from the realities and needs of the community. While Henyard continues to defend her spending decisions, the deficit looms larger than ever, and the town's financial future remains uncertain. With every passing day, the mounting debt and unresolved issues seem to undermine her claims of fiscal responsibility and progress. The question now is whether Henyard can regain the trust of the people she was elected to serve, or if this financial scandal will mark the beginning of the end for her political career. The people of Dolton, frustrated by years of mismanagement and secrecy, are demanding accountability. They want a leader who will take their concerns seriously, address the town's financial crisis, and work toward a more transparent and sustainable future. As the controversy continues to unfold, it remains to be seen whether Henyard can weather the storm, or if the pressure will force her to step down. What is clear, however, is that the residents of Dolton are no longer willing to accept vague reassurances from their mayor. They want answers, and they want real change.
Tiffany Henyard actually has two political jobs on two public payrolls, as mayor of South Suburban Dolton, or as she calls.
Financial mismanagement has become a defining issue in Mayor Tiffany Henyard's administration, with her spending habits sparking outrage and concern among residents, trustees, and external auditors. At the heart of this controversy is Dolton's dramatic financial decline. Once boasting a general fund balance exceeding $5 million, the town now faces a staggering deficit of over $3 million in just a few years under Henyard's leadership. This troubling trend came to light following a review of Dolton's finances conducted by former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot. The findings from Lightfoot's investigation raised a critical question: where did all the money go? The audit uncovered a pattern of spending that ranged from questionable to outright extravagant, fueling speculation that Henyard is using public funds to finance a lifestyle far removed from the fiscal responsibility expected of a public servant. One of the most shocking revelations from the audit was a single-day expenditure of over $40,000 on Amazon. The scale of this purchase left many baffled, prompting questions about what Henyard could have possibly needed from the online retailer to justify such a massive outlay. Was it office supplies, community resources, or something else entirely? The lack of transparency surrounding such expenditures only deepened suspicions that Henyard is treating the village's funds as her personal piggy bank rather than a resource for the community's needs. This was just the tip of the iceberg. Additional records revealed a troubling pattern of frequent, high-value charges made on the village's credit card under Henyard's authorization. While some expenses were vaguely justified as administrative costs or community outreach, many had no clear explanation. Residents and trustees alike are demanding answers, with critics arguing that these expenditures reflect a cavalier attitude toward public funds and a failure to prioritize Dolton's pressing financial needs. Instead of investing in infrastructure improvements, educational programs, or essential public services, it appears a significant portion of the budget is being funneled into discretionary spending, with little to no oversight. The backlash from the community has been swift and unforgiving. Residents, already frustrated by deteriorating public services and the lack of visible progress in Dalton, have taken to public forums, town hall meetings, and social media to voice their outrage. Many accuse Henyard of acting irresponsibly and prioritizing personal comfort and convenience over the welfare of the town. It's like she thinks she's running a private business rather than a public office. One resident remarked during a heated board meeting, "We're seeing our tax dollars disappear, and we're getting nothing in return." Trustees have echoed these sentiments, with some calling for a complete audit of all financial transactions during Henyard's tenure. Trustee Jason House, one of Henyard's most vocal critics, has gone so far as to suggest that her spending habits could constitute a breach of public trust, if not outright corruption. This isn't just about bad management, House stated in a recent interview. This is about accountability. The people of Dalton deserve to know where their money is going, and right now, we have more questions than answers. House's comments reflect growing concerns that Henyard's spending is not just reckless but potentially criminal, and calls for greater scrutiny of her financial practices are intensifying. Lightfoot's investigation also raised serious concerns about the lack of checks and balances in Dalton's financial management system. The audit revealed that many of the village's financial transactions were conducted without proper documentation or approval from the board, a clear violation of standard municipal governance practices. This lack of oversight has prompted calls for tighter controls and greater transparency in how public funds are allocated and spent. The absence of proper oversight has left residents questioning how their taxpayer dollars are being spent, with many demanding stricter controls over how Dalton's finances are managed. Despite the mounting criticism, Henyard has remained defiant. She dismisses the concerns as politically motivated attacks designed to undermine her leadership. In a recent statement during a Facebook Live session, she insisted that all expenditures were made in the best interest of the community, and that her administration has nothing to hide. "I have always worked for the betterment of Dalton," Henyard declared. "Every dollar spent has been for the people, and I stand by that." However, her reassurances have done little to quell the growing discontent. For many residents, the situation is emblematic of a broader issue, a leadership that appears increasingly disconnected from the realities and needs of the community. While Henyard continues to defend her spending decisions, the deficit looms large, and Dalton's financial future remains uncertain. The town's once solid financial footing has eroded, and the financial challenges continue to mount. Despite her repeated claims of fiscal responsibility, Henyard has failed to address the underlying issues, and many fear that the town's financial health will continue to deteriorate under her leadership. The question now is whether Henyard can regain the trust of the people she was elected to serve, or if this financial scandal will mark the beginning of the end of her political career. The people of Dalton, frustrated by years of mismanagement and secrecy, are demanding accountability. They want a leader who will take their concerns seriously, address the town's financial crisis, and work toward a more transparent and sustainable future. As the controversy continues to unfold, it remains to be seen whether Henyard can weather the storm, or if the pressure will force her to step down. What is clear, however, is that the residents of Dalton are no longer willing to accept vague reassurances from their mayor. They want answers, and they want real change.
Thornton Township, which hit a roadblock tonight, not because of the weather, not because of logistics, but because two trustees refused.
Tiffany Henyard's spending habits extend beyond her role as mayor, with critics pointing to her tenure as a supervisor for Thornton Township. Detractors accuse her of directing township funds toward pointless initiatives, such as her controversial proposal for a 100% homeowner tax refund. Marketed as a game-changer for locals, the plan failed to gain traction, and Henyard never fully explained or implemented it. Trustees have called the proposal reckless, criticizing it as a publicity stunt that ignored the township's real financial issues, which are growing increasingly dire. Despite the backlash, Henyard has doubled down, claiming that her detractors are simply envious of her vision. However, many believe the statistics speak for themselves and are not in her favor. But it's not just about the money. Henyard's leadership style has also drawn criticism for being chaotic and self-serving. Critics argue that she prioritizes her image over the needs of her constituents. Take, for example, the massive welcome banners featuring Henyard's face and self-proclaimed title of Super Mayor, which were erected along a major road in Dalton. The vendor who supplied the banners claims they haven't been paid, leaving the town on the hook for nearly $20,000. When workers began removing the banners after residents voiced complaints, Henyard reportedly called the police, demanding charges be filed against the workers. She even threatened legal action, claiming that removing the banners was a crime. Such incidents raise the question of whether Henyard is more interested in celebrity status than in fulfilling her duties as mayor.
Or do not show up. We are not able to pay bills. We are not able to handle.
The ongoing power struggle between Mayor Tiffany Henyard and Dalton's village trustees has escalated into a contentious battle, with trustees accusing Henyard of making unilateral decisions without consulting anyone. Village board meetings have devolved into shouting matches, as trustees claim Henyard routinely bypasses proper procedures. One of the most controversial actions taken by the mayor was her appointment of Ronald Burge as Dalton's new police chief. Trustees argued that the appointment was unlawful, pointing out that Burge's state certification had expired, and the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board even sent a letter declaring Burge unfit to serve due to missing documentation and outdated qualifications. Despite these objections, Henyard went ahead with the appointment, which angered both the board and local residents. One trustee even publicly declared he would refuse compensation from the village due to the situation. The appointment has sparked legal disputes, further deepening the dysfunction within Henyard's administration. While Henyard battles these conflicts, the people of Dalton are left to deal with the fallout. The town is facing mounting debt, and basic services are deteriorating. At a recent village board meeting, it was revealed that the town's office had run out of paper and ink because vendors were refusing to fulfill orders until they were paid. This situation has become a public embarrassment, with Henyard earning the nickname Dalton's Dictator for her authoritarian approach. It's not only her critics who are speaking out. Former allies have also turned against her. Carmen Carlo, once an aide to Henyard, has become one of her most vocal critics, accusing the government of being disorganized and dishonest, with both sides blaming each other for the impasse. Carlo and several trustees have even skipped meetings, citing safety concerns and a lack of transparency. Their absence has often left the board without a quorum, further stalling any progress. As if these issues weren't enough, Henyard is now facing personal legal troubles. Her landlord has filed an eviction lawsuit against her and her boyfriend, claiming they haven't paid rent since August. The landlord alleges that they have even changed the garage code and locks to prevent access to a home worth over $300,000 annually. Although Henyard's lawyer has disputed these claims, the lawsuit only adds to the growing list of controversies surrounding the mayor, whose leadership seems mired in turmoil. The mayor's financial woes and personal disputes only amplify the challenges facing the town. Despite all these setbacks, Henyard has announced her intention to run for re-election, confidently predicting a landslide victory. In a statement, she compared herself to former President Donald Trump, saying, "Just like Trump, I'm coming in on a landslide." This bold assertion comes at a time when she is under FBI investigation, facing eviction, and leading a financially bankrupt town. Her optimism is at odds with the growing skepticism surrounding her leadership, as many question whether she can continue in office after so much controversy. Jason House, one of Henyard's most vocal opponents, is running for mayor as well and is not holding back. House has framed his campaign around transparency and accountability, pledging to restore fiscal responsibility and address the town's financial crisis. Many residents are questioning whether Henyard's tenure has irreparably damaged the town, and whether it's time for new leadership. The future of Dalton is uncertain. Will Henyard manage to overcome the mounting criticism and secure a second term, or is it time for a change? The community's discontent is palpable, with a growing chorus of voices calling for a fresh start. What do you think? Do you believe Henyard's political career is the result of her own missteps, or is she the victim of unfair criticism? Share your thoughts below, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more updates on this ongoing political drama.